January 27, 2025, Marc Simoncini, the founder of Mythique, throws in the towel. His electric bike startup, Angel Mobility, is in receivership and 5,000 bikes are being recalled due to a potentially dangerous frame defect. The operation costs at least 5 million euros. Obviously, the company can't cope and is forced to file for bankruptcy. Unfortunately, it's the end of a dream for the French champion of connected electric bikes, but Angel is not an isolated case. In July 2023, Dutch e-bike star Vanmoof shut down. 200,000 customers left behind, bikes unusable without the brand's app, and investors were also left with nothing since they had injected no less than 100 million euros into the company. Luckily, McLaren saved it at the last minute, but at what cost? Yet just a few kilometers away in Belgium, Cowboy keeps pedaling. The Belgian startup even raised an additional 5 million euros in September 2024. How do we understand these opposite paths? 3 startups, 3 destinies with many twists and turns. Marc Simoncini, who revolutionized online dating with Mythique, is now aiming to reinvent the electric bike in a unique way. An ultra-light, ultra-connected bike, and above all, made in France. Angel's main promise is a high-tech electric bike made not in Asia, but in a French factory in Côte d'Or. Simoncini partnered with the Société d'Emboutissage de Bourgogne Group, known for household appliances. The project, ambitious, even almost arrogant, is to create the iPhone of electric bikes, only 16 kg, while competitors weigh over 20. A touchscreen directly integrated into the handlebars, turn signals built into the frame like a car, and an app that does everything from navigation to fall detection. There's even theft insurance included in the price. The first model was launched in 2020 at nearly 2,900 euros, a price that raises eyebrows but matches the ambition. You can't revolutionize cycling with cheap products, and soon the first warning signs appear. The range of barely 50 km is the lowest on the market, the touchscreen interface keeps bugging out, and starting it up is way too complicated. Not to mention, of course, the riding position is way too sporty, completely unsuitable for the city, the height of irony. For a bike that costs nearly 3,000 euros, the fenders are sold as an option. In this case, they really did everything just like Apple. Simoncini and his team still aren't giving up. They improve the product, launch new, more comfortable versions, and even sign a partnership with Mini. You know BMW, in 2023, things seem to be going well. French production is running, the bikes are available, and the user community is growing. But in fall 2024, the unthinkable happens. A user is in an accident after their bike frame breaks. A thorough analysis shows this is not an isolated incident, but a potential defect affecting 5,000 first-generation bikes. They would need to replace or refund all these bikes, costing 5 to 13 million euros, an amount Angel lacks, even after multiple fundraising rounds. Angel turns to Société d'Emboutissage de Bourgogne, her industrial partner, and highlights their role in producing the faulty frames. But the home appliance giant, used to legal battles, declines all responsibility. Kickmaker, the design office and partner, does the same. No solution, no money. To address the issue, Marc Simoncini must announce Angel's suspension of payments on January 27, 2025. You may have seen the post on social media, so it's a brutal end for the French champion of connected electric bikes. The 5,000 owners now have potentially dangerous bikes they no longer feel safe using. Other Angel customers remain unaware, as their bikes still function for now. But without updates, server maintenance, or related tasks. Obviously, they might not work for much longer, but Angel's downfall is not an isolated case. It happened less than 2 years after another spectacular bankruptcy, that of the Dutch pioneer Moof, which had already shaken the entire industry. The Carlier brothers launched Vanmoof, an urban bicycle brand with a distinctive design. Their bikes are non-electric and stand out for their elegance and simplicity. The company truly took off in 2014 with the launch of its first electric bike, the 10 Electrify. The success is immediate and resounding. The minimalist design, integrated headlights, innovative anti-theft system, and connected app attract a trendy clientele willing to invest in a premium electric bike. Vanmoof quickly becomes the Tesla of bicycles and, like them, Vanmoof chooses total vertical integration. The brand designs its components, assembles bikes, sells them in its stores, and handles maintenance in its workshops. This strategy allows total control over the user experience and innovations that are impossible to copy. Anti-theft device with geolocation, automatic gearbox, boost button for instant acceleration. But this approach is extremely expensive. Proprietary components, opening stores in major cities and training specialized technicians. Obviously that requires a lot of money. To fund rapid growth, he raised money in several rounds. 12.5 million euros in 2019, 40 million in 2020, and a massive 128 million in 2021. And to sell his bikes fast enough to satisfy increasingly greedy investors, Moof adopts a risky strategy, selling at a loss. Launched in 2020 at nearly 2,000 euros, the S3 is sold for less than it cost to make, in the hope of quickly gaining market share and making it profitable later on. But two major problems will derail this strategy. First, the S3 and X3 bikes are full of defects, broken buttons, squeaky motors, and bad batteries. Vanmoof is trapped by his own closed system, so only his workshops can repair his complex bikes. Secondly, he quickly finds himself overwhelmed. The media and social networks are then filled with testimonies from furious customers who have been waiting for weeks, even months, to have their bikes repaired. And the brand's reputation collapses along with its finances as it faces soaring warranty costs. The second issue, as you know, is equally devastating: the COVID pandemic. Keep that in mind. I'll return to it. Understand that, like the entire industry, Vanmoof faces component shortages and supply chain issues. Delivery times are increasing and costs are soaring, putting Vanmoof in an impossible position. Bikes that are expensive to produce, but are sold at prices that are too low and with skyrocketing costs. Despite the 190 million euros raised in total, the coffers are emptying at a dizzying speed. In June 2023, Vanmoof quietly ends online sales. On July 12, a Dutch court grants the company protection from its creditors, and 5 days later, on July 17, its official bankruptcy, sudden and final. Overnight, 200,000 Vanmoof bike owners feel abandoned. No more spare parts or repair shops, and constant anxiety about what's next. About the mobile app, which is essential to unlock their bikes and access all the features. Many are wondering if they'll end up with a technological dead weight on their hands. Fortunately, the story doesn't end there, because on August 31, 2023, a subsidiary of the British group McLaren Applied bought Vanmoof for several tens of millions of pounds. Under this new management, the company is gradually coming back to life, with a network of partner repairers set to replace its own stores. The servers and the app are being maintained. In spring 2024, an improved S5 version will go on sale. Elliot Wertheimer, the new co-chief executive officer, clearly summarizes past mistakes. Market is weak, unreliable, and hard to repair. Millions of euros invested failed to find a viable business model or adapt to the market. So what happened to these two companies? Were the investors reckless? How could such great promises and huge investments lead to such bitter failures in such a short time? To understand the scale of the current crisis, we have to go back to its origin, the 2020 pandemic. When the virus hit, public transportation suddenly became places to avoid. The fear of contamination pushed city dwellers to find individual alternatives, and the bicycle appeared as an ideal solution. It lets people travel alone outdoors while maintaining social distancing. The authorities are supporting this movement with unprecedented energy. Temporary bike lanes are popping up overnight in the largest European cities. Governments are offering subsidies for electric bike purchases. In France, the ecological bonus can be up to 400 euros, often with local subsidies added. In Paris, you could get up to 600 more euros. A major boost makes the electric bike dominate the market, generating up to 59% of total bicycle sales revenue. Manufacturers can't keep up with this frenzied demand. Delivery times are increasing and can take up to 6 months. Some components like brakes, discs, derailleurs, and batteries are becoming extremely rare. It's a major problem. To meet this insatiable demand, brands are investing heavily, new warehouses are popping up, factories are expanding, and staff numbers are increasing. Investors are flocking in. Convinced that this e-bike boom is just the beginning of a profound new revolution in urban mobility, it's the gold rush for e-bikes. By 2022, the first clouds appear on the horizon. COVID-related restrictions are easing, and soaring inflation and the energy crisis are drastically reducing household purchasing power. A mathematical reality ultimately prevails. Many of those who wanted an electric bike have already bought one during the pandemic. So 2023 marks a turning point for the first time in years. Electric bike sales are down by 9 in France. Even high-end models, typically resistant to economic changes, are now affected. The situation is worsening. In 2024, the industry is facing a problem it has never experienced before: overproduction. Warehouses are full of unsold bikes, and costly expanded factories are operating slowly. It's a storage crisis and panic over excess inventory to get rid of these mountains of bikes. Brands are multiplying desperate promotions, and models that usually sell for €3,000 are being slashed by 30% or even sometimes by 50%. But these discounts are destroying the retailer's margins, which are already weakened by rising production and transportation costs. According to the Cycle Observatory, the official figures are relentless. In 2023, the total bicycle market fell to €3.4 billion, which is a 5% decrease compared to 2022. 2.23 million bicycles were sold, a drop of 14%. French production also declined. 645,000 bicycles were made in 2023, 24% fewer than the previous year. But there's something wrong with all this. This sales crisis is happening even as bicycle use continues to grow. Vélo et Territoire reports a 5% rise in bicycle traffic in 2023, with Paris's bicycle modal share hitting 11%. So how can we explain this contradiction? The answer comes down to two factors. First, many cyclists are riding bikes they bought during the pandemic and don't need to replace them. An electric bike isn't replaced every 2 years like a smartphone. Next, the used bike market is booming, offering a more affordable alternative for newcomers to cycling because quite simply it's cheaper than buying new. However, some companies have managed to stand out. Belgian startup Cowboy appears to have found the formula to get things on track. Adrien Arous may not look like a cowboy, but this young Belgian entrepreneur shares something with Wild West heroes: an ability to survive in a hostile environment. Founded in 2017 by tech entrepreneurs Arous, Karim Slaoui, and Tanguy Goretti, Cowboy chose a different approach from its competitors. While Vanmoof and Angel played the card of maximum technological innovation, Cowboy bet on what seemed like a huge mistake at the time: simplicity. Their first bike fully embraced this minimalist approach, with no gears, no frills, a silent belt drive, and a user experience centered around the smartphone app. In short, an aesthetic similar to its competitors, but with a completely different mindset. Unlike its rivals, Cowboy has managed to evolve with its market. After users said the frame was too sporty, the company released the open-frame Cowboy 4 Saint in 2021. The Cowboy Cruiser, with a more relaxed position, came in 2023, followed by the Cowboy Cross in 2024, their first model with suspension for extra comfort. However, Cowboy was not spared. Revenue fell 18% from 2022 to 2023, with losses of €21.6 million last year. These figures should have also driven them into the same abyss as Vanmoof. But Roos did what few tech entrepreneurs are willing to do: question his original business model. Cowboy initially used a direct-to-consumer model with its own workshops and technicians, just as Vanmoof had. Roos now openly admits after-sales service is the industry's Achilles heel. Bikes are bulky products, not easy to send by mail. Since 2023, Cowboy has made a complete turnaround, forming partnerships with traditional bike shops to handle maintenance and repairs. These neighborhood bike shops, which many consider dinosaurs in the digital age, have become a real lifeline for the brand. And it's the same story when it comes to production. Concessions have been made and the frames are now produced in Asia, where costs are more affordable. At the end of 2024, demonstrating pragmatism, the company announced part of production would move to Romy and Cerson Cocorico's French factory. This strategy of constant adaptation is paying off, since Cowboy's gross margin went from 10 in 2022 to nearly 40. Today, and in September 2024, the company raised another €5 million aiming for profitability by 2025. Roos plainly explains the secret to this resilience. We prefer to lower our prices while maintaining a reasonable unit margin, rather than aiming for margins that are too high and would slow down our growth. A simple, almost old-fashioned business logic let Cowboy survive when others failed in the two-wheeled startup world. So what truly sets Cowboy apart from Angel or Vanmoof? Maybe it's this culture of pragmatism that permeates the entire company, rather than chasing an idealized vision of the electric bike. Perfect like Apple, the Belgians listened to the market and adapted to it. Instead of insisting on expensive vertical integration, they relied on the existing bike shop ecosystem. And rather than selling at a loss to gain market share at any cost, they preferred slower but more solid growth. Angel, Vanmoof, and Cowboy, 3 startups, each with its own e-bike vision. So here are a few tips for those who would like to buy one today. Favor brands that have an extensive repair network, ideally one that's independent from the brand itself. Watch out for proprietary technologies that may become unusable if the company vanishes. Assess the financial stability of the company before investing in a connected bike. And above all, don't blindly chase after the latest novelty. A reliable and well-maintained bike can serve you for many years. Brands like Moustache in France and Riese Müller in Germany are known for reliability and longevity. Granted, their bikes aren't the most connected or the most revolutionary on the market in appearance, but they run day after day, year after year. In the great race of electric bikes, it's not the fastest who win, but the most enduring. A lesson startups, like cyclists, often learn the hard way. If you like this new format, please like and subscribe. And as for me, I'll see you very soon for a new video about the latest technology trends and their consequences.